Well, hello. Welcome to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona, and I am in Arizona. Yep, I'm in my art room. I actually did some rearranging. I moved my um, filing cabinet right over here. So I put up my newest painting. It's kind of dark in this part, so it's a cactus. But it has funky colors in it because it's kind of abstracty. And then I added, let me see, this way. um, two great big long shelves, and I rearranged everything. So back behind my filing cabinet, I have my table where I paint or make my fuse glass, all that kind of stuff. So very excited. But I'm so glad you're here. And hello, Penny. How are you? Julie, how are you? Thank you very much. We did arrive about 3:30 Arizona time, which would have been 4:30 my time in Wyoming. But we did stop and see Jordan and had lunch with him, so that was it. It took us so we were into Yuma, Arizona a little bit later, but that was okay. But we have been swamped busy, and we've had people come over to say hi. And when you live in two places, you actually have to, um, you know, you have to go get a whole bunch of groceries because we don't leave our electricity on here, so our refrigerator is not on, and so anything that's perishable we give to our neighbor Ellie, and anything else I store in my oven. Now, isn't that a weird place to store it? But an oven is so insulated, I can put all my canned goods in there, and I don't have to give those away each time if I have extra ones. But today, um, I did a short about my castor bean, and I was harvesting the little flower pods to take the castor beans out of there because I like growing them. They're very poisonous, but I do like growing them. And I actually didn't pull the plant. I the trunk was about this big around, which I never thought it would survive the summer. When I left, it was probably, I don't know, maybe foot and a half, going on to 2 feet high, but it's not in my water system. It is backed by my new fruit trees, but not in my water system. But Yuma had enough rain, and I guess it had made a big enough, deep enough roots that it survived. But it didn't just survive. It was literally about 8 feet across. So you have to check out the short about it. And not 8 feet tall, but maybe 6.5, 7 feet tall. And so that was very crazy. Tons of pods. If you haven't ever grown a castor bean, it is a beautiful plant. The stems are red. The leaves, which are way bigger than my hands, are purplish. And then it sends up these stalks. And at first they're kind of light pinkish pale. And then they make these clusters that look like spikes all over them. And inside there are the castor beans, which they make castor bean oil with. And so some people around here trim them so that they grow as trees, but they're just a beautiful plant. Totally poisonous. You don't want your pets to eat it or your kids to chew on it, but a beautiful plant. Oh yeah, the short was this morning. Oh, wild castor around here, castor beans around there, and it survives a lot. See, that's good to know because I honestly thought it was going to be dead as a doornail when we got back. But I had tried to dig one up and put it in a pot, and you know how when you dig them up, then they're all wilty at first, but it just didn't perk up again. And I thought, okay, that's all right. I did move one of them over by my bananas, but it didn't get enough sunshine. It is still alive, but it's not much taller than it was when I planted it. But it's just overshadowed by all the other plants, and actually all the other trees. And so there just wasn't enough sunlight, I guess, because that's not much taller. So, but the dry, miserable heat in the summertime in Arizona, it liked. So that was kind of fun. And then I proceeded to pull all of the stuff out of my garden. Not my fruit trees that I planted in there, but I have hollyhocks that, just grow and bloom until it gets too hot. And they've gone through their cycle. So there was these huge stalks, 10, 12 feet tall, with clusters of seeds. And my one friend wanted some of them. So I put a bunch of them in a 5-gallon bucket for her. And I'll just keep shaking them, and the drier those pods get, they'll just come right out of there. And so she will have a bundle of them. But if you would like some castor beans, I took all of those pods, and they're on a great big sheet of cardboard. Actually, I was going to put on cookie sheets, but there was too many of them. And I will take them apart. So if you want to pay for the shipping, I will send you them. So there's lots of them. And it's a beautiful plant. Back in Wyoming, I grow them in pots. They never get big like the ones that were outside. Never. Now, before I forget, anybody that's a member, I'm actually going to do a members only live stream right after this. And I think I have it all set up right, so that all I have to do is click go live and it will start. So if you're a member, you'll have to pop over. Now, weeks ago, I did a contest on when I was going to have my first frost. Now, there had been frost around me back in Wyoming, but we had not gotten any frost. And so you could put in your date and the time, and whoever came closest without going over would win a $25 Amazon gift card. And Charmaine is my winner for that. And I did give her a little post that she was the winner. I'm hoping that she will pop into tonight, either during this one or during the live stream. And because I just want to make sure I have the correct email address for her. And then I will send that Amazon gift card over to her. So that's kind of fun. Now, here before we got here, there was a lot of storms in Arizona. Like last year when we came, it hadn't rained for 18 months, other than just a touch of sprinkle that didn't even really get the sidewalk wet. The monsoons didn't come through. This summer was a totally different story. And one storm that came through, the winds were horrible, and it broke a bunch of branches that are on the property side of my mom and dad's house and ours. They're actually my dad's trees, but my dad says, I'm just going to give you these trees because he wants me and Joe to take care of them. But they do shade our driveway. And so I appreciate that. So the wind had broken some big honking branches. And so Joe cut those out of the tree because they weren't all the way broken to the ground. You know how it will break and it's still attached to the tree. So Joe chopped those with the chainsaw down. And then today he has been using our chipper shredder and shredding those all up. And I have been putting them on my garden. Because why not? It's a great thing to do. I don't like to waste anything. And we've paid before in years past down here. We have paid to have somebody come and chip up all the stuff that we've trimmed. And so we bought a chipper shredder because I said 2 times of doing that, and we've paid for it. And so Joe was doing that. Matthew, how are you? Arizona takes off your rainbow shades. Take off your rainbow. I can't help it. This is the reflection on my from my computer. It's a lot of reflection. So you can see the screen right now. And I tried different glasses and they all do it. Paul Revere and the Raiders. That is awesome. So the next few days, we will just, actually probably for the next week, we will just be doing stuff with gardens. But I did get everything pulled out of the back garden. And all that stuff will go through the chipper shredder. And I don't usually rototill, but I have a little tiny rototiller down here. And I just rototilled some plant material into the soil, watered it good, checked to make sure all my watering systems were working the way they were supposed to be doing. I thought they were because none of the trees looked stressed. But, you just want to check. You just want to make sure everything is going. 60 songs. That's right. So over the next week, we will just be planting and chipping and shredding. I am going to plant a bunch of stuff in the back garden tonight because it'll be nice and cool. It's only been in the 80s, so it's not bad temperatures. And all the plants that I brought down have been outside since Sunday, and they've been great. So I'm just going to plant those, and I rototilled two my little patches that I have by my back property that I usually put. One year I just had flowers. I've grown tomatoes there. I've grown some squash there. I've grown onions there. But on one of them, I have some pumpkins and squash. And depending on how many I have when I undo my seed snails, both of those might be just pumpkins and squashes. And I am going to plant some tomatoes tonight, some onions tonight, some cabbages, broccolis. That's probably all I'll get done tonight, really. Because after my 2 lives, I have to fix Joe supper, of course, because it's this crazy idea that he thinks he should eat. And tomorrow, I start my first class of 4 classes at the fair. Now, Yuma, Arizona is a little bit different. Our county, Yuma County, has 2 fairs a year. With the whole carnival, they don't do as much livestock and stuff in the fall fair as they do in the spring fair. But last year, my art group, we started free classes at the fair. And so we had 3 classes last year, and 30 people in each class. We turned people away every single class. And they came in and they painted a pumpkin because that's what the fair wanted us to paint. So I was the teacher, and then some of our art group were my helpers. And so same thing this year. Only tomorrow night, before the fair is officially open, they are doing a special thing for all the hospital employees. And I suppose it's a lot of the doctors' employees too. And so I am teaching people that work at the hospital or their families pumpkins. And so that's going to be a fun class. And Troy Sutton is here. Hello, thanks for coming in. That's so sweet of you. And so tomorrow night I do that class. Then Saturday I'm teaching 2 classes, one at 1 o'clock, one at 5 o'clock, and the same painting. Well, actually, they get to choose which painting they want. Should I get it? Just a second. Okay, so first they were going to just do an 8x10 pumpkin. Pumpkin and field. That's what I was supposed to paint. And it was okay. I thought it was kind of boring, because we basically did the same thing last year. The background was just a little bit different. So I did it at night so that it would be a little bit different. So it was this one. Now you have to remember, some of the people that come are either very small children or they've never painted in their life. And so it has to be very simple. Okay, so this was my first picture, that, moon, the hills in Arizona, pumpkin patch. And it was okay, but it wasn't anything I thought was special. So then in the middle of the summer, they wrote and said, oh, well, we didn't buy 8x10s. We decided, and we bought 11x14s. So then I thought, I am just going to paint whatever I want to then. I knew it had to be pumpkins still, right? I have to keep in those parameters. But these are their choices. Now, so there's one, much more fun, and there's the other one. So I'm really just going to let them, I'm going to have all three of the paintings and just give them some options, but I like funky. And so the second set was much more enjoyable to paint. Hence, that's why I like painting. I like it to be fun and different and not such the ordinary. So I'm very excited about it. It's going to be a great class. So in the next few days, I will actually be teach 120 people how to paint pumpkins in Yuma, Arizona. It's going to be great fun. I have 2 helpers a day, or a session, and so that's going to be fun. There's a couple that are doing more than one session, but it'll just be a good time. And I think it's a great thing that the fair is willing to, because the fair's buying all the paint, all the supplies. I mean, they don't pay us. It's our volunteer hours to do that. But it's a nice thing for the fair themselves to go through the expense. They've done all the advertising so that people can leave the fair with something that didn't cost them anything and that they can put up on their walls. And so I like that idea. I like that whole working of community. And so I'm excited that I get to teach that. But before I go tomorrow, it's back into the gardens. In the middle of the afternoon, even though it's in the 80s, it's warm. Not that we didn't do stuff this afternoon, but it was like sweating. But I did do some filming of my gardens, so I'll do some more when we after my lives and supper tonight, and I'll plant some, so I'll film some of that too. And then over the next couple days, I'll just keep filming and I'll put a video together of me doing my garden stuff. And look who is here, Charmaine. Charmaine, did you see my little message? You are the winner of when it was going to frost. Charmaine said it would be October 13th. And it was October 13th. She guessed 2 weeks ago. And she was only like an hour, just a little over an hour early. So Charmaine, you are the winner. So I do need to know which email you want me to send the Amazon gift card through. So just send me an email and let me know which one, where you want me to send it. So I was totally excited that you were the winner. Penny says, I am excited for you too. Penny, you're so sweet. But there were different people that guessed different times, and I'd say, it didn't frost yet. Guess again. So, but just send that to me, and I will do that tonight, and we'll send it over to you. So congratulations. I thought it was kind of fun, an easy way to win $25 just guessing. Caveat, I don't think it has ever been this late in Wyoming that it hadn't frosted at my house. I seriously was shocked. I mean, around my town there was. In fact, one day even across town they had some frost. But on my side, on the west side of town, there was no frost. Matthew says, was fun. I've been watching weather models there. It's crazy, but it's just like from the time we went home last spring, so when we went back to Wyoming last spring, until when we left to go to Arizona, we had 17 inches of rain at our house. South of town, I have some friends that have a greenhouse. They had just over 15 inches south of town. But that's just like unheard of in Wyoming, our part of Wyoming. Maybe we'd get 10 inches, 12 inches of rain on a good summer. But 17 inches of rain was just mind-boggling. It was so much fun. And the growth on my trees was just astronomical. You know, you always have, like on your fruit trees, you always got these sprouts coming up and they're fast. But it was like nothing you had seen before. And them apples on some of those trees were so big. And it was like, yes. In fact, some of the pears just filled up my entire hand. And it was like, oh yeah, I like that. So we brought a great big box of apples and pears down here. Charmaine says, I just took a guess. You guessed right, girl. Um, so we got the great big box that we brought down. I haven't even opened that box yet. I wrapped all of the apples and pears individually. I'm going to make some apple butter and some pear butter. I'm going to make, I found somebody suggested a pear ice cream. And so I found some recipes for that. And so when I do that, I'll do videos about it. And I did make pear juice before we left, but I canned it. So I just left it. Our truck was very full. Hence all my stuff back there. But I've decided all of my glass stuff that I brought down, I'm leaving, and I will just replace it up in Wyoming, because that's what takes the most of my space in our truck is my glass. And it's heavy. And so I just decided, you know, I have in November starting what I call Fusing Fridays. And every Friday, unless it's a holiday weekend, in November and December, we are doing fused glass classes at my house on Fridays, which should be great fun. I've done several classes in Arizona before, and it's always been exceptional. And so they make it, then I fire it, and then they come back, or I deliver it. If they're close, I deliver it. And it's just great fun. So it's going to be a busy season. My parents are not here yet. We honestly badgered them. You know, I feel bad. I do. We badgered them. That because we just believed at 94, my dad and my dad should not drive such a long drive. And if they ride with us, you know, ride alongside with us, that's okay, you know. But like when we went back to Wyoming, we did that. But I basically drove my dad's truck the whole time, and Joe drove our truck the whole time. And so it wasn't, I guess it's just not as enjoyable, because sometimes you just want to stop, or they wanted to stop and we weren't ready to stop. And so I just thought, and I talked to my siblings, that I really just felt that it would be better for them to fly. And I think they'll just get used to it. They can buy another car down here. I don't know how many times my dad said, oh, I'm just going to leave the car down and we're going to fly back. And then we'd get time to go. And he didn't want to do that. And I understand it's probably one of those things that it's a thing that he, you know, his children are telling him not to do. And it's like taking that away from him. But at 94, that's a long trip. And I said, what if something would happen to you? And mom, because my mom wouldn't drive down. She would fly. And I said, she needs to feel comfortable, know the ways going from one terminal to another terminal. And I think it's just better. So, but I do feel bad that we badgered him, because when I was packing up, he called and he goes, I wish I was coming with you right now. I said, Dad, you'll really enjoy not driving, you know, because they can leave and they're here, you know, the same day. Do you guys have to do that with your parents sometimes? And I do. I feel bad that we kind of pressured. It's not badgering. We were just a little more pressure that this was probably a good thing to do. So my brother did offer to drive them, but he said, I'm driving, Dad. And Dad says, nope, you're not driving. I'm driving. He goes, then I'm not going. The battles of two strong men. But, oh, if you've come in and it's been after I announced it tonight, after this live, I'm literally going to try. I think I have everything set up because I'm not going through StreamYard like this is going through StreamYard right now. I'm actually going um, through YouTube, doing a live, members only. And so if you guys are members, um, you'll leave this live stream and then you can pop on to the other live stream if you want to. Otherwise, you can watch it later. You know, people are busy. I got my final bill today in the mail for, like, we shut our house down. We don't shut the electricity off because I set the thermostat's at about 55, 58. But we do turn off the water and this, you know, the garbage, the sewer, that kind of stuff, because it just saves us some money while we're gone. So I got the final bill for that today, but the electricity, they'll send it on a different day. Julie says, I got close to that with my dad. Never quite had to take away the keys. Well, it's not like my dad can't drive. He can. I mean, both my parents can drive still. They don't have medical issues. It's just a long, long drive. You know, like from our house, it's about 18 and a half hours, and they're 2 hours further. And so it's basically 20 and a half hours for them. So Wayne says, he said, all over, almost. Got 3 minutes left, Wayne. Nice to see you. Family members in their upper 80s, well, when in a passenger seat, I don't know whether to pray or scream. Well, it can be hard because, you know, my dad and mom always have a certain way that they go, that they've gone down to Yuma, Arizona for 25, 28 years. And so they have certain ways, like they go through California. We don't go through California. We from Las Vegas, we go over to Kingman and come down, where they would go over to Needles and go down and then come across. Well, I don't like going into California. You know, that road is like this. We went one time and I thought, I'm never going through there again. And the gas prices in California are astronomical. Drives too fast. Well, what my dad does, he drives the speed limit or 2 miles over the speed limit, but he wants to drive on the interstate in the middle, that central, the left lane instead of the right lane. And so it's like, Dad, you can't just stay in that lane. You need to, if you're going to pass somebody, that's okay. But then you got to go back to the right lane. I'm going the speed limit. I can go on that one. No. You know, people are passing you on the right side. That's not what you're supposed to do. And we pass people on our way down, old people that were in that lane, and we had to pass on the right side. And it was like, seriously. And Henry's here. Henry, how are you? How cold is it in Vermont? Henry has game cams, webcams. I'm not really sure what they're called. And so you can see the deer going through his yard. You can see them eating apples. You can see it when it snows. It's very fun. Matthew says, we don't get past. Yeah, some people are very fast drivers. I'm okay maybe going 1 or 2 miles over the speed limit, but I don't go, but there would be people that are just passing us like crazy. And it's like, oh my gosh. Oh, everybody, I got to go because I'm going to go live with my members. So members, you're going to go out of this one. And if you want, go into the other one. So everybody have a great time. Thanks, everybody.